All right, this is the next episode of True Wrestling Fans Discussions, continuing our Halloween Havoc review series. This is going to be Halloween Havoc 1992. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank. Let's get into this and let's not miss any details.
Yeah.
Um, this one, I've said this to you before. I remember this a lot differently when I was a kid 30 years ago. And now watching it again now, I'm like, wow. I mean, Bill Watts really, to me, didn't do any better than what was the Pizza Hut? Jim Herd?
Jim Herd, yeah.
Didn't do any real difference. You got that over the top rope disqualification, no mats at ringside. I mean, this just it didn't to me it didn't work.
Not only
But
that, he didn't want, and we'll get into it in the matches, but he didn't want a lot of high flying maneuvers really done off the top rope and stuff like that. He wanted more of a mat based style of wrestling. He wanted a more technical style.
and that's what
So
hurt Brian Pillman
that
because
big time.
Brian Pillman was a high flyer.
Yep. Yep. So
All right, October 25th, 1992, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 7,000 in capacity here. And I noticed while watching it that two familiar fans were at ringside sitting next to each other. It was Mr. WrestleMania, the bald guy with the glasses that was at every WrestleMania in a
hmm
tuxedo, and the ECW guy. Well, before this was a year before ECW
yeah, yeah.
started, but that's how what he was known by. The moniker on this was "Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal," which was not a bad concept, although the match that got picked was to me a little cheesy, but they had some good choices on there. I like the concept of the spin the wheel. So, and that
Yeah,
was
the
set up for the
execution.
main event. Yeah,
The
the
execution wasn't
they did have a dark match for this. It was Eric Watts and Van Hammer defeating the Vegas connection of Diamond Dallas Page and Vinny Vegas, Diesel Nash, whatever you want to call him. This was pretty much it for him. He was on his way out after this. It was a straight up 12-minute match to give the fans something before the pay per view. I never really saw
yeah.
anything in Watts, to be honest.
Yeah, there was also supposed to be there was a couple matches they had to change around. The Steiner brothers were supposed to wrestle on this card, and of course the Steiner brothers end up leaving right after this pay-per-view, maybe like a month or two later. I think Rick might have been injured. Scott was allegedly injured, but the rumor is that he just didn't want to. He
Uh,
just wanted to like do nothing until he left because he had like a month left on his contract.
yeah, because 3 months later that they
Yeah,
were at the Rumble.
yeah. Steamboat was supposed to fight Austin at this
That
pay-per-view,
was supposed to be a good match.
and that got shifted around. Cactus Jack.
Because the reason why, well, remember Bam Bam Gordy supposedly suspended,
Yes, yes, yes.
so they moved Austin into the tag title match,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
which
yeah,
gave
yeah.
Steamboat another opponent,
Yeah.
which I didn't agree with.
And Cactus Jack was supposed to fight Dustin Rhodes in a Falls Count Anywhere match.
That would have been a lot better too.
Which would have been good, yeah. But
Uh,
so
Anyway, let's get into it. The opening match was a six-man tag team match. It was Tom Zink, Johnny Gunn, who, if some people aren't familiar, he was Tom Brandy in WWE, which doesn't really say a whole lot, and Shane Douglas versus Arn Anderson, Michael Hayes, and Bobby Eaton. And I don't know about you, but those guys got a bigger pop than the fan favorites,
yeah,
especially Hayes and Eaton.
yeah.
And then at
He was
one
weird
point,
and
Arn
cheered,
Anderson
yeah.
really got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this match wasn't bad. I mean, it was three hammerheads against to me, three elite guys in WCW. And they wind up getting the victory over Anderson, Eaton, and Hayes, which shocked me because and Johnny Gunn gets the cover. He
Yeah.
gets the win. 11-minute match. I thought this should have gone the other way, but at this point, Hayes is dwindling down in his career, and they're not sure what they're doing now with Anderson and Eaton because the Dangerous Alliance is up in the air
hmm
and all this stuff. So it was a little chaotic in WCW at this point when Bill Watts took over. So, but I mean, it wasn't a bad match, but the heels were the ones that get the pop in this one.
Yep.
That was weird. Our next match I actually did like. It was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Flying Brian Pillman, and you could tell now that Pillman was pure heel. They turned him, which I thought was a mistake, but what helped him once they turned him heel was eventually putting him with Austin in the
Yeah.
Hollywood Blondes.
That worked out.
So this match was pretty good. The ending was kind of a little cheesy. It was a sunset flip off the top
Sunset flip,
rope,
yeah.
and then Pillman reverses it, and then Steamboat actually has to help Pillman flip into the reversal, and that's how it ended. And I thought, nah, you guys could have done something way better than that.
Yeah, I mean, what hurt this match was, The fact that Pillman really couldn't do it, they didn't want him to do his high flying stuff. And
Yes, definitely that hurt him.
if this match on paper, you would have thought they would have tore the house down.
Definitely. A year before
Just
they would have.
yeah, but so it wasn't a bad match, but it
No.
just wasn't what it could have been.
We're not used to seeing Pillman on the ground as opposed
Yeah,
to the air.
yeah,
And even Steamboat too, because Steamboat was known for
yeah. Steamboat
his
was
top
known for
rope stuff too.
yep.
So our next match had an interesting take in it. Now, originally, Ravishing Rick Rude, and I couldn't get used to the no mustache in this. That weirded me out when Rude did that. He was supposed to wrestle twice that night.
Yeah,
However, the powers that be or whatever, it was actually Paul E that arranged it.
they'll
They
say there
were
was some
able to,
lawsuit. They said it right, didn't they say there was some lawsuit where in storyline I'm talking about
yeah, yeah, that they would sue
couldn't defend it.
WCW.
He couldn't defend it
Because,
two times in one night. He couldn't fight for the title or something.
yeah. So what they wound up doing was he gets Vader to replace him in the
Yeah,
match, and if Vader loses the match, then Ravishing Rick Rude loses the title.
yeah.
And the funny thing about this match is they barred Medusa from ringside. They also barred Harley Race and Rick Rude from ringside. Vader was
Medusa still
defending
walked
the.
him out though. I mean, Medusa walks
Oh
him
yeah, he
out,
walked him out, but then Ole
but then she
Anderson
was
was down
barred.
there and
Right.
told him to leave, all of them.
Yeah, but then Medusa had just gotten fired, right? Because she gets doesn't she
Oh,
get fired
later on in the
later
card,
on?
yeah, and she still
Later on
comes
the
out with
card.
Rude. Yeah,
That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, okay.
because Jesse and Jim Ross were saying, well, wasn't she fired?
Right.
And yet she's still at
Yeah, yeah,
ringside, which I thought was
yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Now Vader, who's the interim champion for the night, defended the title against Nikita Koloff. And again, this match on paper, two heavyweights, yes, but there was a lot of botched moves in this.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this isn't Nikita in his prime.
Yeah,
Vader was good though. I thought this was Vader's prime.
yes.
These years in WCW, his
92
stuff
to 95 was his best.
at least his stuff looked good. Like when he's throwing those power shots, it looks
Hmm.
believable. Nikita did a good job of selling them.
Yeah,
So Vader
and
was a monster.
definitely.
It's just that the match wasn't that great, but
He couldn't suplex him. He tried and failed. Then went for the power slam and almost dropped him on his head because Vader weighs too much, and either Vader didn't jump into it
right.
or Nikita just couldn't hold him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, but I mean, it was good to see Nikita face Vader.
He was
two
he was a
powerhouses.
baby face. It's weird for me to see Nikita as a baby face.
Yes, I know. Especially, yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that.
I never really bought into him as a baby face.
No. So Vader winds up getting the pin, and he wins the title. Rude keeps it now, so Rude is still the United States champion.
Yeah, but to me, it just takes away from the title though, because
It does.
how is somebody else going to defend the title for you? It just takes away from the meaning of that title.
Because now if
You
I'm
know?
Vader, I'm like, okay, I just did this for you. Now I want a shot at this
I
title.
don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. This is WCW, man. It was either
Yeah,
that or Vacant was going to win it. Because, I mean, this
yeah,
is what they did. And I didn't understand it. I mean,
yeah.
if you have Rude in a title match later on that night, why did you even book a U.S. title match?
Why did you even book the U.S. title? Yeah.
You could have
I mean,
just
I don't
taken it
know.
off the card.
Yeah. And they didn't even I think this gets announced shortly before the pay-per-view too. Leading up to the pay-per-view, you
Mm-hmm.
thought Rude was going to defend the U.S. title. I don't remember when it's changed, but it's not too
I think it was the night
long
before.
It might have been. It might have been the night
On
before.
Saturday night, I believe
It was
I remember
close.
hearing Ross say that
I know it was close.
last night they came with
So
they
why
did this
did
whole
you
thing.
even? Why did you? I don't know. Whatever.
It's WCW, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, if they didn't do this, Vacant wins it, and Vacant won a lot of titles in
Yeah.
WCW. The next match was long, but I and this was for the unified NWA and WCW tag team titles.
Yeah.
A team that's on the outs with each other, Dustin Rhodes and Barry Windham, defending the titles against Dr. Death Steve Williams, and it was supposed to be Bam Bam Gordy, but he was suspended indefinitely. I don't know if it was storyline, if he was on his way out, whatever the case may be. They wound up replacing Gordy with Stunning Steve Austin.
Yeah. Who's also really named Steve Williams.
Yeah, so you got the Steve Williams and Steve Williams here.
Yeah, Steve Williams and Steve Williams.
So I mean, the match wasn't bad. They did the shenanigans with the over the top ropes. Ref doesn't see it.
Yeah.
Nonsense. This went to a time limit draw. This was a full half an hour. I mean, oh my God.
Half
I,
hour too long.
exactly.
I thought
And
Doctor
not
Death was kind of shitty in this match.
he was
Yeah, I
looking
didn't
out
think
of shape,
I
and
didn't think he was.
Austin kind of carried it. Dustin
Yeah,
and Barry Windham did a good job. Then you have the whole thing with Randy Anderson is the referee, but Nick
yeah.
Patrick comes out because Anderson goes down, and Patrick counts a three. Anderson says no. He tries to count what looked like a three, but said it was a two, and so the match ends in a draw. And I mean, this was okay. Like you said, Steve Williams was not looking good in this match. Austin kind of, to me, I agree,
Yeah.
he carried it because Austin's looking great at this point.
This guy Ventura was in rare form this night too on the commentary.
Oh yeah.
He was in rare form. He was funny.
Oh, especially during the Dangerously Medusa segment. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
God,
yeah.
was he? I'm surprised they didn't cut his mic off.
Yeah, yeah. He's too much, man.
And let's not forget the host of the night. I didn't mention this earlier. It was Tony Schiavone, and they had Bruno Sammartino back.
Yeah, that's right.
It
Yep.
was good to see Bruno there.
Yeah.
So, in any event, our next match had a whole lot of politics to it as well. It was for the NWA World Heavyweight title. Masahiro Chono defending the title against Ravishing Rick Rude. They each had to pick a referee. Rude went with Harley Race, obviously, and Chono went with Kensuke Sasaki, obviously. So Sasaki was actually the in-ring referee, and Harley Race was the outside referee, and I didn't understand a bit of this. It made no sense.
And then it doesn't make sense at the end either when we
No,
get
it
to it.
doesn't because the whole thing was just chaotic,
Yeah.
and the match to me was
Was
pretty
this
slow. Not to mention, did you notice this
the
that
match was
when
garbage, I think, man. I don't know
Chono
about
had,
you.
oh yeah, it was
Yeah.
Chono had Rude in the Boston Crab,
Yeah.
he's tapping out. He's
But
actually literally doing this.
I don't know if he was tapping or he was just like in pain, because this is back then you didn't tap. You'd have to verbally,
You have
right?
to verbally say
You have to
I quit.
verbally say I quit. So maybe it was just that he was in pain. I don't know. But
I don't know.
I know what you're saying.
This was slow. This
It's
was
bad, but it's not his fault. It's
no
this guy's fault. It's
Chonos.
Watts. No, it's
Oh,
Watts' fault
I
because he's telling them to wrestle this type of style
don't understand why.
because that's what he came from. He came from that generation.
What was funny was the crowd got a huge pop when Rude finally hit the Rude Awakening, and everybody's like, "Oh, finally
Was this
something!"
was this the match where there was a fight in the crowd? This was the match that there was a
Yes,
fight in the crowd, right?
yeah. I saw ECW guy get up, and he's looking off to the side,
Yeah, it's
and
like
and Ross is like, "Something's going on.
yeah, and
We can't
the
quite
crowd's not even
tell."
paying attention. The crowd wasn't even paying attention to the match.
That
Yeah,
fight got a huge pop more than the
yeah.
title match.
hmm
But yeah,
But
Rude wins
these idiots were outside the ring when Root does the Root Awakening.
exactly because at one point Rude hits the boot on I believe what was it on Race. I know both of them got
They're
hit,
outside the ring, and it's a
and then
mess.
supposedly it was because Rude. Now Chono gets disqualified. Rude wins because of supposedly he threw Rude
Medusa
over
was
the
there though,
top
right?
rope.
She was there. She was yeah. She
She
came.
yeah
She
she,
stayed there,
she
right?
yeah because the segment
Yeah, yeah.
before this was when Heyman and you can't do that segment now.
No, 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 no,
No
no, no,
way
no, no, no,
can you
no,
do
no.
that segment when he goes, "You're a woman. I
Yeah.
am the man. You
hmm
are fired." And I love this when he goes, "I hired you because the hooker
The
had a
other hooker, yeah.
previous engagement."
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
like,
Jesus.
dude, oh
Jesus.
man. And she just walloped him
Yep.
upside the head with a kick. And I remember this because I watched it back then live, Clash of the Champions, dangerously, and this was his exit. He fought Medusa with one arm tied behind his back, and she beat him. And I thought that segment was unbelievable. And yet, yeah, she still came out with Rude in this
Yeah.
match, and Ventura's going off. And I'm like, dude, they didn't shut his mic. Oh my god.
No, he was in rare form. But Rude can't pin this guy because Harley Race and what's his name are outside the ring while all this is going on when he had him in the Rude Awakening. So
Yep.
then he goes, what is he? He goes to the top rope, right? Then he misses.
Yeah. And then I believe Chono throws him over the top rope, and that's a disqualification. So Harley Race calls it. Sasaki says Chono wins
But he said that
because he
because he
had the
tapped, because
STF.
he
Yeah.
quit. He had him in the STF, yeah.
but Race
Yeah.
had already made. This is where I didn't understand the
Right. It
double
was a
referee
mess.
thing,
It was a
and then
mess.
they all start
He
fighting each
wasn't even
other.
the legal, but he wasn't even the legal ref though. It was Race. Race was the inside ref,
No,
right?
Sasaki
Race.
was.
Oh, Sasaki was the inside the ring ref.
Yeah, Harley was outside, which again
Oh
doesn't
my
make
god.
any sense to me. Why do you have the
I
double
don't know.
referee? Why you can't just appoint a WCW official for this match? I didn't get
I don't
it.
know. It's just unnecessary extra like stuff that they threw in the match.
And
And
to save
sometimes,
face for Chono and Rude pretty much
yeah,
because Rude is on a hot streak.
yeah.
Chono's the champion, and they're not really willing to drop the title to him just yet. So I mean,
Well,
this is what they came up with.
they never wanted Rude representing the NWA apparently.
Yeah, a lot of Rude's getting a lot of that. Unfortunately, I don't understand why. So in any event, after this match, they had the segment of the spin the wheel, make the deal, and it's
Yeah.
funny because Sting's out there waiting about 5 minutes, and the technician has to come up and go, "Oh, I have to plug in the thing. Sorry." And Sting looked like he was getting a little agitated, so he spins it, and
Hmm.
the 12 matches are on there. I thought the wheel kind of stopped prematurely, like somebody held it from the back. It just seemed that way to me, and it lands on Coal Miner's glove, which okay, and it's on a 20. It's sitting. It's on a pole.
They love these pole matches in WCW.
Oh, Judy Bagwell. Later on, we'll get to that. You actually not only on you on the top rope, but you actually climb the thing. It's like 30 feet in the air.
Yeah.
That made no sense. But anyway, Sting's unsanctioned match later on would be Coal Miner's glove. Our next match was for the WCW Championship. Ron Simmons with Teddy Long back in the picture versus the Barbarian with Cactus Jack. Now, I don't know about you, but I never saw the Barbarian as a main event
The
guy.
Barbarian. This to me, this is just as bad as Hulk Hogan versus the Booty Man at was it Starcade
Butcher, yeah.
the Butcher was Starcade 96, right? I think it was Starcade 96. Could be wrong.
95, 95.
Was it 90? It was 95. It was before the NWO.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 95.
Yeah, this was just as bad.
Or
Unfortunately
was
for
it
Ron
94?
Simmons.
Or was it 94? I don't know. Was that 94 or 95? Sorry. The comment section is going to let us
It's
know.
one of them.
But
Somebody's going to say something. It's
yeah,
fine.
but in terms of main event, like Barbarian had no business being in the main event. Now I understand
No.
Barbarian's a big guy, and so you kind of want to get somebody physically imposing because Ron Simmons was a big dude, right? So you want to get somebody that's kind of like a threat to him. But for a title match on a pay-per-view,
No. I would have rather Cactus Jack got in the ring,
yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
But I mean, they did have a good test of strength. They're
Yeah.
going up against the ring and they're knocking each other and you know.
But I just never I never felt like Barbarian was gonna win. Like you didn't think like, oh, Barbarian has the chance.
I never saw him in that. I always saw him as a tag team wrestler, which for the most part he was. Powers
Yeah.
of Pain, Head Shrinkers, Faces of Fear.
Yeah.
He had that singles run under Bobby Heenan when the Powers of Pain broke up, and again, I didn't see it. So then what they do, they put him with Haku, make him another tag team. So now WCW brings him over, gives him a title shot. I don't understand why.
Yeah.
And even the ending, that power slam, normally that wouldn't keep the Barbarian down, but it was a 3 count. Simmons keeps the title. But I mean, was there nobody else that they could put Simmons against? I mean,
I don't know.
come on, man. Again, Cactus Jack could have gone into the match. That's not the last time we're going to see Cactus either. So now, according to Jim Ross, all the sanctioned matches were over. Now it was time for the main event, the unsanctioned lights out match. Sting versus Jake the Snake Roberts. And
It's Sting.
I remember this match, I guess, totally different when you're 30 years younger, you will. But when I saw Jake come out watching this recently, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, he looked out of
From WrestleMania till now, you look like shit.
he looked out of shape. The build-up was good. I mean, the build-up to this match was good, though.
Oh, it was excellent. When he came out at on TV, took him out. He said that was going to be his goal was to take Sting out. The storyline was good.
And Watts hated Jake the Snake Roberts for whatever reason. I think because Jake signed his contract or whatever his contract proposal right before he got there for however much money it was. So when Watts got in charge, apparently he ripped up his contract. I guess it wasn't guaranteed or something.
Because Jake was out after this.
He ripped up his
one and done.
He ripped up his contract. He made him take less money, and then he took the snake away from him. That's why Jake doesn't come out with the snake.
Yeah,
And that's I think that's part of Jake's gimmick is him
having
with
the
the
snake in
snake.
the corner. Yeah,
So why would you
without
take
that,
that?
what's the point? What
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like that was dumb. And so I thought, I did like that Sting came out. He was very serious. If you notice the way Sting came out, he had like a very serious look on his face.
Oh
So
yeah,
that was good. The match was okay. It wasn't garbage. I thought it was a decent match.
I like how
Um,
Sting flipped himself around the pole, kind of like a little 619
mhm.
there to knock Jake out to go get the thing to the glove.
Yeah.
At the same time, Cactus Jack comes down with the bag,
Oh Lord.
and this is where it gets funny because as Jake's taking the snake out, Sting gets the glove, hits him in the back of the head, gets the pin. At the same time, now Sting is trying, not Sting, I'm sorry, Jake the Snake is trying to get the snake to bite him, and he keeps putting it up against his cheek till he finally bites him,
Yeah.
and then it lets go, and he's still doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it was that to me was hilarious.
He hit Sting with the DDT though, right? He hit
Yes,
Sting with the DDT.
and he still looked. I'll give him this. He still looked good doing the DDT.
He look to this day nobody can do a DDT like Jake.
Exactly, nobody. Even when
Nobody.
he came back in '96, all pudgy and whatnot, he could
Yeah,
still
yeah,
pull it off.
yeah. With the beer belly and all, but still,
Well,
yeah.
the beer belly was starting here.
Yeah, it was. You could see,
Like I
yeah.
said, you look at a photo of WrestleMania 8, which is what 6 7 months prior to this,
Hmm.
when he faces the Undertaker, and then you look at a picture of him now, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh my god, what happened to you? I mean, it's just he this was the start of his downfall to me, in my opinion. And
Well,
like I said, this was one and done for him because of Watts. But Sting gets
yeah.
the victory. I mean, it could have been better, but I mean, Jake wasn't in the ring in action for a few months, so But
Yeah,
again,
because
like you
Jake,
said, the storyline was built, the buildup was
yeah.
good.
Jake ends up at the advice of his lawyer going into rehab. And the lawyer told him go into rehab and then try to sue Watts for the money or whatever because he hated Watts, and then he ends up suing Watts because Watts fired him while he was in rehab. So they filed a lawsuit saying, "Here, hey, look, I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to get clean and sober, and this guy fired me." So he ended up getting the money back. But that was the end of Jake and his short run in WCW. Ironically, like this was a huge pay-per-view buy rate. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it did well in terms of pay-per-view.
No, I don't have the number,
Right.
but I remember it was bigger than the year before.
Yeah, it did well, but then there isn't a pay-per-view that does as good as this until July '94.
Yes,
I
definitely.
guess because they stunk it up so bad that people were like, "Nah, man,
Well,
I'm not."
in '93 was kind of chaos with ownership moving
But
around constantly and
But
stuff.
Halloween Havoc '93 was good though.
Yes, it was.
You look at the card, we reviewed it I think last year.
Yeah,
It was
Vader and
actually
it was Vader
one
and
of
Cactus Jack.
it's one of the better Halloween Havocs.
Hmm.
But I thought this one was a bit of a stinker, man. I think this is it might be the worst one of is it the worst one that we reviewed so far? I think it might be.
I don't know. We didn't do
Close.
2000 yet.
No, I'm saying up until this point,
Oh yeah, yeah,
the ones that we
definitely.
reviewed.
89, 90, 91 were better than
Yeah,
this.
yeah, 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 definitely. So, all right, you guys let us know what you think about this Halloween Havoc. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys soon.
Take care.